we're going to do a book review on the Italian Vetterli Rifles. Okay, this very good book. There's a couple other reviews out there. I know they've Forgotten Weapons. The Rock Island guys did a review on this. By Robert Wilsley is the book. I got it for 55 bucks on Amazon.com. It's delivered. And that was Prime, was delivered in 2 days. Very interesting book. Now, I've done book reviews before, especially about reloading, and I recommend books for you to read, because in that way, you know, you learn about it the way I did, and it helps you understand the videos. I don't have to make a video going into real deep details trying to answer your questions. But I've had, you know, they don't get a lot of hits. My book review videos do not get a lot of hits. But I've had a ton of emails. People told me, I seen your book review video, I bought the book, and it gave me a much better understanding. Now, you know, I guess nowadays people have like e-books where you can just take your phone and read the book while you're doing whatever it is you do. I can say I'm a bit mentally claustrophobic. I don't like that. I like having a book, and you know, because of my hand, it's hard for me to read a book. You know, I have to put it on a table, sit and actually turn, you know, the pages. But the reason you go with a book, and like I said, nowadays people just glean like on YouTube or whatever, the internet, and they just take one snippet of information that pertains to something they're thinking about. Well, the problem with that is you have a very narrow view of what the hell you're doing. Okay? This book, and I'll get a close-up, we'll get the camera over and we'll leaf through this. You get a book like this, and you read it from cover to cover. You read the acknowledgments, you read what the guy did, and what this individual did is he traveled. I believe he's an Englishman, but he's traveled to Italy, to Somalia, and all the Italian colonies. He went to where there were famous battles when these guns were used. He's been to all kinds of museums. There's a ton of variations and stuff in here, even a grenade launching system for this rifle, with illustrations and photographs. A lot of real rare variants are photographed in here. I doubt you'll ever see him anywhere unless you go to the, you know, he tells you what museums he goes to and how he was able to handle all this. And, you know, to me, it's worth it. It does help enlighten you, or gives you a lot of information. Because, I mean, you can go online and look at all the general information. This is different. You read this book, you'll have an understanding of this gun and the system, and a clear understanding. And then with that knowledge, when you go to buy or add this to your collection, you have the knowledge to make a sound decision. You know, are these people overpricing this gun? Is the gun correct? Or is it an assemblage of parts? You know, so it's worth it. And another thing, I throw a plug in. Don't get me wrong, you know, I'll still make the videos and do this, but there has been a lot of donations, and I mean people have donated generously to me over the past few months, and I really do appreciate it. But there's a lot of people out there, for the number of subscribers I have and the number of questions I got, that, you know, me asking for $1 a month, $12 a year, I don't think that's too rough, you know, on you. But, you know, if you're using the info and you're using it to make your decisions, you know, sending me $1 to support the channel ain't that tough. All right, so let's go and we'll leaf through the book and get a close-up, and I'll show you why you should add this to your library of books. All right, we're going to give this a try and try to see if I can leaf through this book well enough to show you. On this page here, like I said, he has pretty much a good breakdown of the Vetterlis, the different models, configurations, and even some rare variations I've never heard of. So there's a lot of these like illustrations and photographs in here. And he talks about the history of Vetterlis. He mentions the Swiss ones and the development of arms through history and time here with examples. So there's references to earlier guns and that, which there's not a lot of information about them, which makes this book kind of worth it. And like I said, he does discuss the Swiss Vetterlis and that. Then, as usual, there's a lot of illustrations of the different markings and stampings that you'll find. So this is an outstanding reference and helps shed light on a lot of the questions people have. I mean, a book like this really is helpful. Okay, and it's got a ton of photographs in there. It explains a lot of stuff. Then as we keep going, it shows not only that, but like the different variations and accessories and a lot of real neat stuff. The gun's disassembled. Explains things in pretty great detail, you know. And as you go through, and let's see what this next one is. So there's a lot of photographs of the guns disassembled, explanations, your different variations, which some are kind of unusual and you're not going to find generally. They look like they got museum tags on them. But like I said, for 55 bucks, this is well worth it. It's a lot of information in here. Okay, then he covers the ammunition, like in a lot of these books. Different types, development of it. Unfortunately, he doesn't have dimensions to help me reload it, but you get an idea of the different cartridges, illustrations on how they're made and packaged, and a lot of historical data and an explanation of how the cartridges evolved over time. In other words, what they started with and how it ended towards the end of World War II. And actually there were so many of these guns around, the last time the ammunition was manufactured was in France, and in 1940s or something was the last time they actually made ammunition for these rifles. Then it covers the conversions, you know, the variation, the 6.5 Carcano conversion. It goes into a very in-depth explanation of these rifles, the development of it, and how they, you know, converted them. And that a lot of interesting information, a ton. Well worth it. And sheds light on this. There's a lot, these guns are fairly common, but there's not a lot of concrete, definite info. When you go to forums and just cruise around the internet, you know, somebody gives their opinion in that. At least here, there's photographs, research, it backs it up, and you got solid information that I trust. And this, books like this is where I get my knowledge from. Okay? I just don't wake up in the morning and know everything about it or whatever, and I really can't cover every single gun in detail, so the books help. And more on ammunition, but it also covers bayonets, which is another thing. All the accessories are covered here. There's chapters in that on bayonets. Then cartridge pouches, belts, you know, the equipment, and what goes with it, the proper stuff. So, you know, you got some photos, so you have an idea. You know, if somebody's got some kind of weird belt or something, says, oh yeah, it goes with the gun. Well, now you got a reference to make sure they ain't giving you a line of crap. Then it talks about the use. These are used as anti-aircraft guns in World War I, and it covers a very rare rifle grenade launcher sights and this contraption that goes on there to launch rifle grenades. And that's all in this chapter. Very interesting stuff that you don't find a lot of information about. Then in this part, it covers the factories, okay? And it tells you a lot about the places that made these guns. And he's gone to these factories and taken photos of them and that, and been through them, and that's where I think he sees a lot of these rare examples, is when he traveled. So this guy traveled a lot. Okay, and then we have chapter 3, which tells you where the guns were used in service, and he covers some historic battles. He actually went to the location of some of these historic battles, and here's the one. You can see where the drawing of the battle was, and where he went there in modern times and took a photograph of the same location, which is pretty neat. He's gone to where the gun's seen service, and he gives an explanation of this whole thing when the Italian army fought this battle out. And then this book is well worth the money, because anybody who collects old military surplus guns, Benny Spiro, the infamous surplus dealer, there's a photograph. There he is right there. To me, to see a picture of Benny Spiro, because I've heard so many references to him, the $58 is worth this book just to see a picture of him and his mention there. And in these chapters they mention where the Vetterlis were sold to different factions covertly, and then they were like surplus arms that were used in rebellions in North Ireland and everything else. So a lot of historical facts, a lot of photographs of this. This book's well worth it. And then in the back, he has all this technical data, references to markings, serial numbers, prefixes, all this other stuff. And, you know, through this rear section of the book, there's a lot of this stuff here that is useful to the collector. So, there we've looked at the book, and now I'm going to wrap this video up. Well, I hope you enjoyed my little review of the Italian Vetterli rifles. You know, if you're a serious collector, want to educate yourself, this is a book to get and put in your library. I am going to try here to do some videos on the guns. A lot of the work I'm doing for people, I'm expending my time on that. I'm going to try to wrap up some more stuff for somebody. But I'm going to try to do some decent videos showing the guns I have in my collection, because we are working with them, and there has been questions, and like, can you fire those 80, 87, 15, 16 conversions in 6.5, and let the garbage truck pass. Yeah, the 6.5s, which are a pretty common gun, you see a lot of them around. I've developed a low-powered cast bullet load, and I'll go out and fire mine, and we'll see how it works. And I'll do a special video and explanation on that. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video.